Welcome to my channel, little dreamer. Have you noticed that sometimes when you're falling asleep, your eyelids flutter like a butterfly, or when you close your eyes, you see dancing sparkles? Being sleepy can be pretty magical. When you drift into dreams, all sorts of amazing things can happen. You might visit a land where candy clouds float in chocolate skies, or you could have tea with teddy bears in a forest of marshmallows. Oh, but if you wake up before your dreams are finished, they might vanish like morning mist. So if you're sleepy now, hold on to your dreaminess, because we're about to share one of the most beautiful bedtime stories that will unfold right before your very eyes. This story is full of warmth, friendship, and the comforting magic of bedtime. We want to help you capture every moment of those magical adventures in dreamland. So before we begin, please give us a thumbs up. So, snuggle down in your cozy blankets. Feel the softness enveloping you like a warm hug. Hold on tight to your favorite stuffed animal or teddy bear. Now, with your eyes closed, take a deep breath in. Imagine the coolness of the air filling your lungs and the warmth of your breath escaping like a whispered secret. Exhale slowly. Let your shoulders relax and your belly rise and fall with each breath. As you breathe out, picture any worries or troubles floating away, disappearing into the vast expanse of the night sky. Now, take another deep breath in, and as you do, imagine that you're inhaling calmness and tranquility. Feel the tension melting away from your arms, your legs, your hands, and your feet. Breathe in the lavender scent of moonlit meadows and the fresh fragrance of starkest fields. Visualize a soothing purple light washing over you, chasing away any lingering darkness and replacing it with peaceful slumber. And with your eyes still closed, picture yourself floating like a feather on a gentle breeze. Sail through the twilight sky, soaring above fluffy clouds that cradle you in their softness. Watch as the stars wink down at you, sending tiny sparkles to adorn your dreams with magic. Now, open your eyes. Are you ready to embark on a journey with the Spaghetti Yeti? Close your eyes now. Little one, take a soft, slow breath, in through your nose, and gently out through your mouth. Let the weight of the day melt away like snowflakes on a warm teacup. Let your little fingers rest. Let your toes go still. You are safe now, held in a cozy nest of pillows and peace. Above you, the stars are blinking sleepily, just like you, and the moon, the gentle Koala Moon, is hanging quietly in the sky, smiling softly, watching over you tonight. You hear the gentle rustle of eucalyptus leaves outside your window. A sleepy breeze dances through them, whispering lullabies from faraway lands. Now, imagine a blanket of stardust being tucked around your shoulders, a blanket that smells like warm cinnamon toast and feels like your favorite teddy bear's hug. You are calm, you are safe, you are loved, and sleep is coming gently now. Let your breath slow down even more, like the waves of a sleepy lake, drifting in and out with every word and every sound. You float a little deeper into calm. And now, our story begins. Our story tonight begins high in the cozy Crumble Mountains, where snowflakes fall like powdered sugar, and the clouds taste like vanilla whipped cream. Deep within those snowy hills, their lives a very fluffy, very quiet, very mysterious creature. The Spaghetti Yeti. Yes, you heard that right. Most Yetis love stomping and roaring and thumping through snowy forests, but not this one. No, this Yeti is different, gentle, quiet, and while other Yetis might snack on icicles or frozen fish, this Yeti has a much more delicious cravings. Steamy, swirly, saucy spaghetti, with tomato sauce so sweet it could make the moon sigh, and meatballs so fluffy they bounce. And don't forget the garlic bread that hums lullabies when it's warm. But here's the twist: no one in the village below even knows he exists. They've only heard the soft slurp echoing through the mountains at dinner time, and the gentle hum of lullaby music carried on the wind. The villagers call it the noodle song. You might wonder how the Spaghetti Yeti learned to cook at all. Well, let's take a little walk back in time. Bundle up now. Can you feel the chill in the air? It's not too cold. Just the perfect crispness that makes your cheeks rosy and your nose tingle. Snow crunches under your feet as you step softly through the pine trees. The trees sway like sleepy dancers in the wind, and far off, an owl hoots gently. Through the trees, you'll find it. A round, cozy cottage made entirely of breadsticks. Its roof is made of woven spaghetti strands, and instead of a chimney, It had a giant wooden spoon poking up to the sky. This is the Spaghetti Yeti's home. Inside, the fireplace crackles with warmth. There's a bubbling pot of marinara sauce singing softly on the stove, and the air smells like herbs and bedtime stories. The Yeti himself wears a patchwork apron stitched together from cozy socks. He has a whisk in one paw, a spaghetti spoon in the other, and he dances ever so slowly as he cooks, his soft white fur swaying like clouds at dusk. But let's go back to the beginning. Once upon a time, the Yeti didn't know what spaghetti was. He lived alone, high in the snowy peaks, making snow angels and sipping peppermint tea. He liked quiet things, like knitting scarves out of snow mist, and stacking pine cones into tiny towers, and listening to the sound of snowflakes landing. But one wintry evening, everything changed. He was building a snow fort when a smell came floating up the mountainside. It was rich, savory, and full of magic. His big, fluffy nose twitched. Sniff, sniff. Could it be? Fire-roasted tomato, basil, melted cheese? He followed the smell down, down through the snow, past the sleepy owls and giggling squirrels, all the way to the village of Noodleton. Warm yellow lights glowed in the windows. People sat at round tables, twirling noodles, slurping softly and laughing gently. The Yeti peered from behind a tree, his breath making frosty hearts in the air. He had never seen anything like it. A bowl of spaghetti was passed to a sleepy little girl in bunny pajamas. She took a big bite, her eyes sparkled, and then she yawned, a big, dreamy yawn. Moments later, her head slumped gently against her mama's shoulder, fast asleep. Was it the spaghetti? Was it magic? Or was it just comfort? Whatever it was, the Yeti wanted to learn. He tiptoed back up to his cottage that very night, gathered his pine cones, melted some snow, and began his experiments. The first batch, a little crunchy, the second, too slippery. The third, the pot boiled over and filled the house with a pasta blizzard. But the fourth batch, that one was different. The noodles were golden and soft, the sauce thick and rich, the meatballs perfectly round and sleepy. He tasted a bite, his eyes twinkled, he hummed, and thus began his tradition. Every evening as the moon rose, the Spaghetti Yeti would cook. He'd hum his noodle song, and let the warmth of the pot heat up his heart. And now, little dreamer, that noodle song is floating through the sky. If you listen closely, you can almost hear it. Slew up, lull. Sauce so warm, it sings to you. Twirl the noodles, hug the spoon. Sleepy dreams will come soon. The snow outside is falling gently now, like breadcrumbs on a soft winter soup. The stars have tucked themselves in behind velvet clouds, and the Yeti stirs his pot one last time for the night. Soon, he will climb into his giant spaghetti bowl bed, made of noodles and pillows and dreams. But there's more to tell, so much more. Tomorrow, he'll meet a friend, a tiny one, with furry ears and a big curiosity. But for now, rest. Snuggle into your own cozy bed, like a meatball in a spaghetti nest, and let the noodle song guide you into dreams. It's bedtime. You look tired. Maybe a story will help you get some rest. Are you listening? Cool. Let's start. Once upon a time in the cozy Crumble Mountains, high above the fluffy clouds, lived a Yeti. He was soft as spun sugar, warmer than hot cocoa, and fuzzier than a freshly knitted blanket. And though he was big enough to fit a mountain in his belly, he was gentle as a snowflake and twice as dreamy. You see, the Yeti spent his days collecting ingredients for his favorite snack, marmalade sandwiches, which he made by squeezing marmalade and flour between 2 slices of toasted marshmallow. Yum! But lately, something new had been bubbling inside him, something cozy, something warm, something like a sleepy song. It started with a simple sniffle, a little whiff of wild garlic, a little mushroom medley, or maybe just a pinch of pine. But soon, he wanted more. He wanted bouquets of blueberries, bouquets of blackberries, bushels of buttercups and bowls brimming with basil. The Yeti was hungry for flavors, and so he did the only sensible thing he could think of. He built a kitchen out of cake, complete with a chimney made of candy canes and countertops crafted of cool cotton candy. He gathered all his wildest whisks and most wanky warming trays, and waited for an adventure. But the days passed, then weeks, then months, and nothing happened. No visitors, no wild whisks, no woolly warming trays. and the Yeti almost gave up hope of any adventures when one particularly blustery day, while gathering ginger snaps for a midnight snack, he heard it tap, tap, tap on his front door. The Yeti jumped. He hadn't heard a sound that wasn't the wind in ages. Could it be a friend? Excitedly, he raced to the door and flung it open. There, bundled up in a bright blue scarf, was a little koala. Not just any koala, mind you, but a very special koala, with a face full of wonder and eyes full of starlight. "Hello," said the koala. "My name is Kira, and I have a question for you. Are you the one who sings the noodle song?" The Yeti blinked, taken aback. "The noodle song? Oh, I don't sing any songs," he stammered, embarrassed. He had never really thought of himself as a singer, just a lonely Yeti trying to make marmalade sandwiches in peace. But the koala didn't seem to mind. "Well then let me ask you another. Do you have any spaghetti?" The Yeti stared at her, utterly confused. But before he could ask what she wanted with noodles, the koala walked in. "It's nice to finally meet you, Spaghetti Yeti," she said with a smile, and the Yeti blushed. "I beg your pardon," he asked, flustered. You don't know?" The koala tilted her head. "Don't know what?" he asked, bewildered. "That you are the Spaghetti Yeti," she replied, reaching out a paw. "I've come to learn from you." And like that, the Yeti's life changed. Not only did he finally have a friend, but he also had a student. Every night after they finished their supper, the Yeti would show her how to make his famous marmalade sandwiches, and she would tell him stories about the world below the mountains. One evening, as the northern lights shimmered outside the cake kitchen, the Yeti confessed something to Kira. "You know, I love making marmalade sandwiches, but lately I want to try something new," he said. "Something like a soup," he continued, and before he knew it, he had shown Kira his brand new recipe. It had everything: chunks of caramel apple, swirls of ginger cream, and of course, plenty of spaghetti. But as they stirred the bubbling pot, the Yeti realized he had forgotten something very important. "Oh, dear," he said. "I'm afraid I don't have any yarn for the garnish. You see, my garnish is always a big, beautiful bowl of yarn, and without it, the soup just isn't the same." "But I have an idea," said Kira. "Let's use my scarf." The Yeti gasped. "Oh, no, please. Your scarf is probably the softest, dreamiest thing in the whole world. I couldn't possibly use it for a garnish." "Nonsense," said Kira with a wink. "I brought an extra just in case." And so, with a happy sigh, she untied her scarf, revealing a brand new one underneath. "Oh, you really shouldn't have," said the Yeti, overwhelmed. "But I insist," she replied, placing the scarf in the pot. And as the steam rose, the aroma filled the kitchen, wrapping them both in a warm embrace. The Yeti smiled, feeling more content than he had in ages. Maybe, just maybe, he thought, having a friend wasn't so bad after all. It was cozy, it was kind, and it smelled like sweet dreams. Together, the friends ate the whole pot of soup, then snuggled up on the couch made of candied pecans and watched the snow fall outside. As the night deepened, the Yeti grew sleepy. He yawned, he stretched, and he knew it was time for bed. "Come with me," he said to Kira, and she nodded, eager to see where her friend slept. They climbed the stairs made of waffle batter to the bedroom, which was filled with stacks of softest quilts, pillows shaped like pastries, and windows woven with moonbeams. The Yeti slipped between the sheets, and seeing that Kira was struggling to curl up, he gestured to the other side of the bed. She smiled and scooted closer. Soon they were both fast asleep, dreaming of adventures to come, friendships to cherish, and the magic of endless, wordless nights. When the sun peeked over the mountains the next morning, Kira woke up feeling rested, refreshed, and ready for another day of learning. She stretched, she yawned, and quietly got out of bed so as not to wake the sleeping Yeti. As she tiptoed past the window, she noticed something strange. The entire mountainside had turned golden. She raced to the window and gasped. Below, the trees weren't silver anymore, but shone with 1,000,000,000 suns. "Wake up, Yeti," she cried. "Quick, come see." The Yeti blinked awake and stumbled to the window. His mouth fell open. "Good gracious," he whispered. "It's the golden glow." Kira nodded, her eyes shining with excitement. "I bet it's all the spaghetti," she said with a giggle. And the Yeti laughed, realizing that with a friend by his side, the cozy crumbled mountains would never be the same again. From that day forward, the Yeti and Kira's friendship blossomed. They learned, they laughed, and they explored. Every morning they greeted the sunrise. Every afternoon they chased butterflies, and every night they shared stories and sang silly songs by the light of the moon. The Yeti might have been big and furry, and Kira might have been small and soft, but together they proved that friendship knew no size, only warmth. And that's why whenever the cozy crumbled mountains turn golden, all the sleepy dreamers look to the skies and whisper a thank you to the Spaghetti Yeti and his brave little koala friend, because together they remind us that even the smallest spark can bring the brightest glow. Alright, kiddos, it's story time again. Now, scooch on up to these pillows. It's going to be a good one. Once upon a time, nestled in the cozy Crumble Mountains, lived a lonely Yeti. His name was actually Montgomery Crumbleson III, but everybody called him Monty. That is until one day when he opened his door to find a little girl sitting on his welcome mat. Her name was Kira, and she had wandered away from her village and gotten lost in the snow. When Monty offered her some warm milk and cookies, she told him all about her life in Noodleton and how much she loved spaghetti. Monty's ears drooped. He'd never been to a village or tasted spaghetti, but he did have lots of milk and flour. So he put on his apron and got to work making some giant cookies shaped like stars. And they were delicious. The edges crispy and golden hued, the center soft and chewy. And before they knew it, they were friends. Oh, I wish my friends could meet you, Kira sighed, leaning against the counter. They would love a big batch of star cookies. The Yeti paused, his paws covered in dough. He hadn't thought about friends. He wasn't sure he remembered what that felt like. Now that Kira and the Spaghetti Yeti had become friends, the mountains didn't feel quite so quiet anymore. They were still soft, but now there were 2 spoons stirring the pot, 2 sleepy voices humming the noodle song in harmony, 2 hearts full of warm spaghetti dreams. Every day, the Yeti taught Kira something new: how to knead dough with soft little paws, how to roll meatballs without waking them up, how to whisper to a pot of bubbling sauce so it would simmer just right. And Kira, in return, taught the Yeti how to decorate the cottage with little lanterns made of snow glowberries, how to hang glittering icicle streamers that twinkled like dreams, and how to giggle softly when the garlic bread popped. But one day, as they were stirring a sleepy pot of spaghetti snowflakes, Kira tilted her head and asked, "Yeti, why don't the villagers know about you?" The Yeti blinked, slow and fluffy. He stirred the pot in circles, softly, quietly, then he spoke. "I used to try, a long time ago," he murmured, voice thick as mashed potatoes. "But when they saw me, they ran. They didn't wait to smell the sauce or taste the spaghetti. They thought I was scary." Kira's ears drooped. "But you're not scary," she said softly. "You're cozy." The Yeti smiled faintly. "Thank you, little one." Then Kira's eyes twinkled. "What if we show them you're not scary?" The Yeti blinked again. Kira's paws fluttered with excitement. "What if we throw a party?" she whispered. "A big, cozy party in the snow, with warm spaghetti for everyone. A spaghetti festival." The Yeti gasped. "A festival?" He looked out the window at the quiet, snowy hills. Could he? Should he? Would anyone come? But Kira was already twirling in excitement, her scarf dancing behind her like a sleepy comet. "I'll help you plan it. I'll write the invitations. I'll hang the lanterns. We can serve sleepy spaghetti and dreamy garlic knots." The Yeti's heart beat and gentle thumped softly in his chest. "Okay," he whispered. And so, the preparations began. The very next morning, Kira tiptoed into the village of Noodle. She wore her coziest mittens and carried a basket full of tiny invitations, each one folded like a ravioli. On the front of each card, in curly ketchup red letters, it read, "You are invited to the first ever Spaghetti in the Snow Festival, hosted by a very friendly Yeti featuring sleepy spaghetti, cozy cocoa garlic bread that sings, and the world-famous noodle song tonight at sundown. Follow the smell of sauce." The villagers were puzzled. A Yeti, a spaghetti party. Some chuckled, some scratched their heads, some wondered if it was a prank. But as the sun began to set, a strange and lovely smell drifted down from the mountain: warm tomato, toasty herbs, melting cheese, and something else, something peaceful. One by one, curiosity twinkling in their eyes, the villagers bundled up and followed the scent. Up the path, past the pine trees with frosted eyelashes, through the snow that sparkled like powdered sugar, to a clearing filled with lanterns made of glowing noodles. And there right in the center stood the Yeti, wearing his sake apron, smiling softly. Kira stood beside him, holding a wooden spoon like a wand. "Welcome," she said, her voice as warm as cocoa. "Would you like some sleepy spaghetti?" At first, the villagers froze, eyes wide, mouths slightly open, a real Yeti. But then, they caught the smell. One brave little boy with marshmallow boots stepped forward and took a bite. He blinked, he smiled, he slurped, and then he yawned. Big and sweet. His mother laughed and took a plate. Soon, everyone was eating, slurping, sighing, yawning. Even the mayor, who was known for never napping, curled up on a hay bale with a dreamy grin. They had never tasted pasta like this. They had never felt warmth like this. They had never met anyone quite like the Spaghetti Yeti. As the moon climbed high, the Yeti sat back on a snow couch, heart full and whiskers twitching. Kira curled up beside him, licking a bit of sauce from her nose. "They love it," she whispered. "They really do," the Yeti replied, blinking slowly. Above them, snowflakes danced gently through the lantern light. The noodle song hummed through the trees, carried by the sleepy wind. And in that moment, the mountains weren't quiet at all. They were full of soft slurps, warm giggles, and the dreams of new friends. That night, many villagers stayed to sleep in the snow, wrapped in spaghetti blankets and garlic bread pillows. The Yeti tucked them in himself, careful not to wake them, and Kira whispered bedtime stories while the fire crackled low. The cozy crumbled mountains had never felt so warm, and the Yeti had never felt so known. Now, a long time after the festival, whenever the wind sang through the mountains, it seemed to hum the noodle song, and whenever the snow fell soft and slow, it looked like sleepy as spaghetti. And whenever the villagers gazed up at the mountains, their hearts were full of warmth and fuzzy memories of a very friendly Yeti, who knew just how to make a perfect pot of spaghetti. And maybe, just maybe, if you listen closely, you can hear the noodle song, too. That means it's time for bed, little ones. Time to close our eyes and let our thoughts drift off like snowflakes in the wind, in and out. Let your breaths get nice and slow. Imagine a warm pot of spaghetti waiting just for you, your own cozy adventure, waiting just beyond your window. Dream, sweet dreams, little ones. Dream of noodles and Yeti friends, 'cause even in the quietest of mountains, the sleepiest of nights, the dreamiest of dreams, friendship can always bring the warmest of lights. Now, close your eyes tight. One more time. I love you. Now, open your eyes and stretch and yawn. It's a brand new day. Let's go play. Now, when I say that feeling is mutual, I mean it. The Yeti couldn't have done it without you. Now, after the big festival, something magical happened in the cozy crumbled mountains. The villagers who once hurried through their days now paused and smiled and wondered. And every evening, just as the moon rose over the whipped cream peaks, the soft scent of spaghetti would rise again. And with it came that sound, that soft, sleepy lullaby they'd grown to love. Mem mem sluerb, lullalu with a noodle song. It called to them gently, not loudly, not with trumpets or drums, but like a bedtime hug that floats on the breeze. And slowly a new tradition began, the dreamy dinner club. Each night a few lucky villagers were invited up the snowy trail to the Yeti's cottage, where the coziest dinners in the world were served. No shoes were needed, no forks either, unless you really wanted one. Just warm hearts, soft voices and hungry tummies. The cottage itself had grown even cozier. Kira had added glowing starlights that blinked sleepily from the rafters. The Yeti had built a second giant pot just for sleepy soups and bedtime stews. There were blankets made of spaghetti yarn and marshmallow cushions shaped like ravioli. Every visitor left, not just full but dreamful. They'd drift back down the trail in little sleds made of bread, yawning all the way home, their bellies happy and their dreams ready. One evening as the noodle moon, that's what everyone now called it, rose high and round above the peaks, a visitor arrived who had never been before. She wore a velvet coat with gold buttons, spectacles shaped like teacups, and a notebook that smelled faintly of pepper and pages. Her name was Professor Fignoya, Fig, a dream. She'd heard tales of the Spaghetti Yeti and his legendary sleepier recipes, and she'd come to see for herself. The Yeti was nervous at first. He stirred slower than usual. His paws trembled a bit when slicing the mushrooms. "What if she doesn't like my cooking?" he whispered to Kira. Kira giggled and gently patted his fluffy elbow. "Everyone likes your cooking, even the moon." The Yeti smiled a little. Professor Fig sat down, pencil in one hand, napkin tucked under her chin. She took one bite. Her eyes widened. She put down her pencil and let out the most contented sigh ever recorded in the cozy crumbled mountains. She didn't take a single note after that. She just ate and smiled and then fell fast asleep in a garlic bread armchair. After that, news spread across the valleys and streams that somewhere up in the snowy mountains, there was a Yeti who could make you feel safe and warm and sleepy in the best way possible. Not just from full tummies, but from full hearts. Even animals began to visit. A pair of porcupines came in for penny. A sleepy red panda brought a pillow and stayed 4 seconds. And one night, an entire duck family showed up in pajamas. The Yeti always had enough food and always had room at the table, because in his cottage there was no such thing as too many. And so the Dreamy Dinner Club became something very special. No sign-ups, no reservations, just an open door, a warm spoon, and a cozy place to rest your sleepy head. And each meal always ended the same way, with the Yeti stirring one last time, Kira humming the final verse, and all the guests snuggled in, cheeks pink with dreams, eyes blinking slowly closed. The Yeti would whisper, "Good night, little dreamers," and gently blow out the candle made of spaghetti wax. This has been the tale of the Dreamy Dinner Club and the Yeti who could make you feel like home. A story about finding comfort in the quiet moments, the warmth of a shared meal, and the magic of a lullaby. I hope this story found you well, wherever you are, whatever you're doing, whenever you feel a bit chilly or lonely, or just need a moment of peace. Remember the Yeti's gentle wisdom. Sometimes the smallest acts of kindness can be the biggest comfort. A warm smile, a helping hand, a listening ear, or simply sharing a story. These are the ingredients that make life a little sweeter, a little softer, and a whole lot warmer. Much like a bowl of freshly made soup. Just as the sun dips below the horizon and the stars begin to twinkle, take a moment for yourself. Close your eyes, breathe deeply, and let the day's worries melt away like butter on a hot noodle. Inhale the sense of home, cinnamon, apple pie, fresh bread, or perhaps a cup of herbal tea. Imagine the warmth enveloping you, chasing away the chill and filling you with a sense of calm. Hold on to that feeling. Let it spread through your body, soothing tired muscles and calming racing thoughts. Feel the gentle embrace of safety and belonging. Picture a cozy cabin with a roaring fireplace, a pile of soft blankets, and the comforting presence of loved ones nearby. You are cherished, you are valued, and you are never truly alone. This moment of peace, this feeling of warmth, carry it with you throughout the day. Let it be your anchor when things get tough, your reminder that comfort and joy can be found in the simplest of things. As the author said, the best remedy for a bad day is a good night. So when the day ends and the stars come out, treat yourself with kindness. Rest your weary head on a soft pillow, wrap yourself in a warm blanket, and let dreams of cozy cabins and twinkling lights fill your mind. Wake up, feeling refreshed, rejuvenated, and ready to face the day with a smile. You've got this. Sending you all the warmth and happiness from the tale of the Yeti, who could make you feel like home. Stay cozy, stay kind, and never stop believing in the magic of a good night. Thank you for joining us today. If you enjoyed this enchanting tale, don't forget to subscribe for more heartwarming stories. Give us a like if you're as warm and fuzzy as our Yeti, and may your nights be filled with sweet dreams and endless comfort. Until next time, stay cozy, stay kind, and remember, a little bit of magic can make all the difference. Wishing you a wonderful rest of your day, and until next time, keep being you, because that's awesome. Once upon a time in a place called Cozy Crumbled Mountains, the weather did something strange. Now, it wasn't bad, not exactly, just different, like the sun took its sweet time getting up, like it pressed snooze a few too many times. The snow fell slow and lazy, kind of like marshmallows floating in a cup of warm milk, and the wind, well, it used to be a bit of a prankster whooshing and whistling through the village, but now it just hummed a sleepy tune, like a lullaby on its way to dreamland. Now, this went on for a whole week, making everything feel fuzzy and quiet, and nobody knew why until Kira, a little girl with hair like spun sugar and eyes like melted chocolate, discovered something strange. In the Yeti's ancient recipe book, she found an old, yellowed page, almost curled up like a sleeping kitten. It was stained with sauce and tomato ink, and the writing was swirly and faded. But when Kira deciphered the spidery script, she gasped the name of the mystery recipe. Dream pasta al moon. Kira's heart raced. Yeti, she whispered, nudging the big friendly monster with a paw-print-covered elbow. Have you ever made this one? The Yeti squinted at the page. He scratched his furry chin. Never. I thought it was just a story from the Book of Slumbers, like how drinking sleepy time tea makes the moon shine brighter. Kira's eyes sparkled like dewdrops on a spider's thread. Well, maybe it's time to find out. So with Kira's help, the Yeti set off to gather the secret ingredients. First, they needed a clove of moonlight garlic, which grew only in the glow of the Koala Moon. So they climbed the tallest peak, careful not to wake the grumpy mountain spirit who liked to nap there. Then they searched for a wedge of cheese that giggled when grated. After a long hunt, they found it hiding under a rock. It turned out the giggling cheese was just ticklish, and it happily skipped along to the Yeti's house. Next, they needed tomatoes grown upside down in whispering gardens, which sounded like a riddle, but turned out to be a patch of wild tomatoes nestled between two babbling brooks. The water must have whispered to the plants to grow that way. And last but not least, they had to collect basil leaves that only sprouted when someone said please in a whisper. This was the trickiest. Each leaf seemed to hide from them, but when Kira sat down on a mossy stone and whispered, "Please, little basil, show yourself," the plant unfurled its green tendrils and whispered back, "Thank you." With all the ingredients gathered, the Yeti put on his chef's hat, which was really a bear skin with a carrot dangling from the tip. He opened his biggest cauldron, which looked like a giant mixing bowl made of polished pebbles, and he got to work, carefully measuring, stirring and simmering. Kira helped him count the giggles from the cheese and hummed a sleepy tune while the pasta cooked. After all, this was special. This wasn't just any dinner. This was a meal that had to make the whole mountain drift off to sleep, a feast to chase away loneliness and fill the empty spaces with cozy dreams. It took them 3 whole days and nights. They stirred the pot with lullaby spoons. They simmered it on a fire made of sleepy wood logs. They waited patiently as the sauce shimmered with tiny stars. Finally, the dream pasta was ready. The Yeti ladled a big portion onto a plate made of polished moonlight and sprinkled it with giggles from the cheese. He added some whipped clouds and topped it with a kiss from the Koala Moon. The aroma alone was enough to make you drowsy, and when they sat down to eat under the silver glow of the full moon, something wonderful happened. The stars twinkled extra bright, as if cheering them on. The wind sang a gentle song, almost like a lullaby, and the snow fell slowly, covering the ground in a thick, warm blanket. After the first bite, Kira felt like floating, bobbing up and down on a marshmallow cloud. The taste of sleepy tomato and moonlight garlic filled her with warmth. The giggled cheese made her smile, and the basil whispered secrets of slumber in her ear. With each spoonful, she felt a strange connection to the Yeti, the mountain, and even the silent stars above. It was as if the dream pasta had wadded up all their loneliness and tucked it into a warm pocket of calm. When Kira finished her plate, she snuggled into the Yeti's fluffy fur, feeling safe and sleepy. She closed her eyes and drifted off to a land of dreams. In her dream, the mountains became pillowy mounds of mashed potatoes. Rivers flowed with creamy soup, and trees sprouted licorice whips. Friendly monsters made of noodles bounced on clouds of laughter, and singing spoons tapped out a rhythm on roofs made of gingerbread. Kira danced with the stars, and each one hummed a little part of the noodle song. It was a dream of pure comfort, of cozy kitchens and crackling fires, of full bellies and whispered stories. And when she woke up in the Yeti's cave, surrounded by the smell of wood smoke and day-old pasta, she didn't want that dream to end. She wanted to hold on to the feeling, the warmth in her belly, the softness in her toes, the peaceful hush in her heart. That's when she noticed the other villagers sleeping peacefully around them, their faces relaxed and their breaths slow and even. They had all eaten bowls of dream pasta, and now they were dreaming together, sharing the same cozy dream. A dream of floating through clouds and sipping warm soup under starry skies. Something truly magical had happened. The dream pasta didn't just help people sleep, it helped them connect, share dreams, feel close, even in the quiet. From that day on, the Yeti made dream pasta only on special nights, full moons, star showers, birthday eves, nights when the sky spilled stardust or the wind sang sad songs. And each time something beautiful followed. One night it caused a field of dandelions to bloom in the snow. Another night a sleepy owl composed a lullaby on a xylophone made of icicles. And once the northern lights swirled into the shape of a giant spoon. It seemed the dream pasta had a power all its own, a power of comfort, a power of closeness, a power of bedtime peace. Kira kept a little dream journal beside her pillow after that. She wrote down every dream shared over a bowl of magic noodles. Some were silly, like the dream where everyone turned into ravioli and bounced on clouds made of sauce. Some were peaceful, like the one where the Yeti tucked the moon into bed. And some were so quiet, they didn't need words, just feelings, warmth, happiness, togetherness. One chilly evening after a soft snowfall, Kira asked, "Yeti, do you think the dream pasta could reach farther than the mountains? Like all the way to someone who needs it but doesn't even know us?" The Yeti thought for a long moment. Then he looked up at the sky. "If it's made with love, maybe it already has. And maybe it has, little one. Maybe the next time you feel lonely, when the quiet gets too loud and the shadows stretch too long, a bowl of dream pasta will find you, wrap itself around your worries and tuck you into a dream where the wind whispers secrets, the snow tastes like powdered sugar, and the stars sing just for you. So close your eyes now and listen closely. Can you hear them? The stars singing, the wind whispering, the pasta calling, inviting you to a place where spoons dance and clouds are soft and slow, where worries melt like butter on a hot rock and dreams take you higher than the mountains and deeper than the sleep. In your dreams now, you feel the warmth creep up your arms, the fuzziness settle in your chest, the sleepy song washing over you like a warm wave. It's the dream pasta. It's here now. It's wrapping you in its magic, tucking you in tight and whispering, "Don't be afraid, little one. You're safe now. We're all here with you. We're all dreaming together." And maybe that's enough. Maybe all you need is a little pasta magic to chase away the dark and bring back the light, to make the quiet comfortable and the shadows small, to remind you that even when you're alone, you're not really alone, because there's always the dream pasta and the Yeti with the carrot dangling from his hat, waiting to welcome you home. So breathe in now and let the dream carry you away. Let the dream pasta soothe your heart and the Yeti's song lull you to sleep. You're loved. You're safe. You're home. Hi there. Welcome back to my channel. Are you tired of feeling stressed and overwhelmed? Do you wish you could find some peace and tranquility in your life? If so, then why not try listening to this cozy story about a Yeti who makes whispering meatballs that bring people peace. It all started with the meatballs. Yes, the meatballs. They had always been soft and savory, shaped by the Yeti's gentle paws and kissed with sleepy spices like nutmeg and cloud pepper. But one evening, as the fire crackled low and Kira was humming softly by the window, the Yeti stirred the pot and leaned in close, and heard, whispered. Not scary whispers, not loud ones either, just tiny, ticklish little murmurs that floated out with the steam. Such a cozy broth. This parsley is dreamy, sleepy, sleepy, sleepy. The Yeti blinked in surprise. He tapped the wooden spoon against the rim of the pot. The whispers giggled. Kira turned around and tilted her fuzzy little head. Did the meatballs just talk? The Yeti nodded slowly. Fluff puffed in awe. They leaned in together and listened, and the whispers continued. Tiny, gentle phrases, all comforting, all sleepy, all sung in voices so small they sounded like they came from under a pillow. That night, the Yeti didn't serve the meatballs with pasta. He served them in bowls of whispering broth, with soft bread for dipping. And as each villager took a bite, a small smile grew on their faces. Their eyelids fluttered, their shoulders dropped, and they began to hum softly, almost without realizing it. One villager, Miss Tilly, the baker, who usually never stopped talking, fell so deeply into calm. She dozed off in her bread bowl. The whispering meatballs were a hit. News spread again, not like before, with letters or flyers or silly loud shouting. No, this time the words spread quietly, like the curling steam of sleepy soup, like the slow drift of a dandelion through the air. They called it the whisper effect. Suddenly, people in faraway towns were sighing more, yawning softly, smiling in their sleep. No one could explain it, but every time it happened, someone nearby had visited the Yeti's cottage, and they always carried home a bowl of leftovers wrapped in dreams. Kira had a theory. She pulled out her chalk and drew it on the floor in spirals. She called it the spiral of spaghetti calm. It starts right here, she said, placing her paw on the center of the spiral. In this kitchen, with this pot. The Yeti nodded, watching her curiously. Then it moves out, she whispered, tracing her finger outward slowly, with every bite, every hum, every dream. The Yeti smiled. But it doesn't stop, she said. It keeps spiraling. bigger and bigger, calmer and calmer, until, perhaps, the whole world is just softer, and the world was becoming softer. Not in a sleepy all day way, but in a slower, more kind way. People paused to hold doors, shared mittens, left little noodle notes for each other on windowsills, and all the while, the Yeti cooked. He never stopped. Even on snowy mornings when icicles jingled like bells, even on foggy afternoons when the mountain looked like it had pulled up a blanket, he stirred and hummed and tasted the sauce with his favorite spoon. One day, Kira asked something she had never asked before. "Yeti, why do you do it?" The Yeti blinked. She continued, "You cook every day. You hum and stir and whisper and warm. But what makes you feel cozy?" The Yeti was quiet for a long while. The snow outside ticked gently against the window like soft paws. Then he answered, "I think I cook because it's how I show love. I don't always know the right words. I'm big. I make weird-shaped noodles sometimes. But when I cook, it's like giving someone a hug they can eat." Kira blinked. Then she did something she hadn't done yet. She stood on a chair and hugged him. Really hugged him. Not just around the arm or the elbow, but all the way. Her tiny koala arms around his giant, soft belly. The Yeti's heart made a warm, melty sound, like cheese on fresh bread. "I think your food is love," Kira whispered. "I feel it. We all do." That evening, they made the floofiest batch of whispering meatballs yet. And that night, every dreamer who tasted one dreamed of being hugged, gently, softly, by something big and kind and full of care. And maybe, little one, that hug has reached you now. Can you feel it? The warmth spreading across your chest, the soft squeeze around your heart, the slow, sleepy smile curling on your lips. Breathe in. Let that hug fill your whole body with calm. Breathe out and let the whispering meatballs carry you further into your dreams. You are warm. You are safe. You are loved. And the Yeti is still here, stirring the pot, just for you. So have you ever experienced a moment of pure bliss or contentment? Maybe it was the feeling of warm sunshine on your skin, or the sound of a loved one's laughter. Whatever it was, take a moment to cherish that memory and let it bring a smile to your face. And if you're looking for more ways to incorporate mindfulness into your daily life, be sure to subscribe to our channel for more guided meditations and mindfulness exercises. And as you drift off to sleep tonight, we invite you to close your eyes and imagine yourself in a peaceful and tranquil place. Picture the soft glow of sunset over a calm and gentle sea. Feel the cool breeze on your skin and the soft sand beneath your feet. As you continue to breathe deeply and slowly, let any tension or stress melt away. Visualize all the worries and troubles of the day floating away into the vastness of the ocean, carried off by the gentle current. Allow yourself to fully relax and let go of any lingering thoughts or distractions. Immerse yourself in the beauty and serenity of this peaceful moment. Feel the warmth and comfort of the setting sun enveloping you in its golden light. Embrace the stillness and quietude of the evening as the world around you gradually falls silent. Allow yourself to drift into a state of deep relaxation and inner peace. Take a few more deep breaths, inhaling the fresh ocean air and exhaling any remaining tension or stress. As you continue to relax, bring your awareness to the present moment. Notice the sounds of the waves crashing softly on the shore and the gentle rustling of the palm trees in the distance. Feel the soft texture of the sand beneath you and the coolness of the sea breeze on your skin. Engage all your senses in this peaceful moment. As you relax, bring your attention to your body. Notice any sensations of warmth, relaxation and calmness spreading through you. Feel your muscles releasing any tension and your mind becoming quiet and still. Embrace this feeling of deep relaxation and let it permeate every part of your being. Continue to breathe deeply and evenly, allowing your body to sink deeper into the soft sand. With each breath, feel any remaining stress or anxiety floating away into the calm ocean waters. Surrender to the tranquility of the moment and allow yourself to fully unwind. As you remain in this peaceful state, bring your awareness to your thoughts. Notice any lingering worries or distractions and gently guide them towards the calm ocean. Visualize your troubles dissolving into the vastness of the water, releasing you from their grip. Let go of any attachments to specific outcomes or expectations, and simply allow yourself to be present in this moment. Maintain a state of deep relaxation and inner peace as you continue to bask in the beauty of this tranquil setting. Allow the peacefulness of this moment to wash over you, bringing a sense of calm and clarity to your mind. Embrace the stillness and quietude, letting go of any distractions or interruptions. Allow yourself to fully immerse in this peaceful state. We hope you enjoyed this cozy story about the Yeti who makes whispering meatballs. If you did, please give this video a thumbs up and share it with your friends. And if you want more stories like this, don't forget to subscribe to our channel. Thanks for watching. Sweet dreams. More than once. The Yeti sniffed the air. More than once someone had sneaked into the spaghetti cottage and filched a handful of flour. Normally, the Yeti would not care. Flour thieving was practically an art form around here. But lately, their flour stash was getting dangerously low. If they ran out, they couldn't make any more magic food. If they couldn't make any more magic food, how would they put Sleepy Crumble Mountain to sleep? How could they protect their home from the bumbling, stumbling bumblenumps? How would they keep the grumpy Grogu from grumpily stomping on their perfectly peaceful slopes? Well, the Yeti couldn't bear to think about it. All that heavy thinking made him very hungry. He took a big slurp of his noodle soup, feeling far too full of noodle soup to do anything but dream of afternoon naps, and perhaps a nice stroll through the mountains after a nice afternoon nap. Meanwhile, outside, a small creature crept along a rock ledge, balancing precariously on its tail. It peered into a nearby cave. It was small enough to slip through a keyhole, fluffy enough to be mistaken for a cloud, and brave enough to steal flour from under the noses of a pair of sleeping Yetis. This was a flummox, the smallest, floofiest mountain monster known to tumble down the slopes of Sleepy Crumble Mountain. And that tumble was no accident. Flummoxes loved nothing more than a good tumble. See, deep in the caverns beneath the mountain lived a grumpy Whenever he woke up, which was often, he liked nothing more than rumbling down the slopes, trampling unsuspecting snow bunnies, knocking over ice, and scaring poor mountain goats right off their rocky ledges. That was why the Yeti and Kira kept a constant supply of magic food on hand, including their most powerful dish, a calming cauldron of clouds. All it took was a sniff of sweet dreams and vanilla frosty to soothe even the Grogu. But our story doesn't start in a cozy cottage or on a mountainside. It starts in a pantry, and in that pantry, buried behind sacks of sleepy lavender and sugar cubes collected from fallen meteors, was a single box of flour. One measly box of flour. The Yeti and Kira had enough flour to make possibly one more batch of magic food. And the way things were going, they were going to need every bit of magic food they could get. Because while our hero and heroine were happily slurping their way through a bowl of noodles, a terrible rumble shook the mountain. The two looked up in alarm. Had he woken up again? What did he want this time? Or could it be something worse, like a flock of rampaging puffballs, or a hungry horde of gingerbread men? The Yeti felt Kira tense beside him, ready to bolt to the pantry, grab the precious flour, and flee to their secret hiding spot, the place no bumblenump could ever find. It was a plan they'd practiced many times before, but this time, as they stood frozen in indecision, something strange happened. The rumble grew louder, closer, and suddenly the door burst open with a crash. The Yeti and Kira gasped. Staring at them from the doorway was the cutest little flummox they'd ever seen. It had rosy cheeks, sparkly eyes, and fur the color of spun sugar, and in its paw, tightly clutched a sack of flour. Before either of them could speak, the little flummox dropped the sack at their feet and tumbled out of the cottage, down the hillside, and into the wild unknown. "Well," Kira said softly, "that was certainly interesting." She reached down to pick up the sack of flour, smooth and comforting in her hands. "Come on," the Yeti rumbled, already smiling. "Let's make some magic food." He scooped up the flour, and together they went to work, mixing, kneading, rolling, pinching, and patting, until they had a whole new batch of calming cauldron of clouds. Then, with a final flourish, they sprinkled it with glittering edible stars, tied it up with a licorice bough, and set it out on their doorstep. Just in case, they didn't have to wait long. The rumble grew again, closer this time, and soon the entire mountain shook with the force of 1,000 tumbles. Kira and the Yeti held hands and waited patiently, and when the door burst open once more, they were ready. Staring at them from the doorway was a very disgruntled-looking, grumpy Grogu. His face was scrunched up like a crumpled napkin, and his fists were tight with frustrated fluff. "Well," the Yeti said cheerily, "this is a surprise. Can I help you?" "You already have," Growler grumbled, gesturing with his chin at the cauldron of clouds on their doorstep. It smelled delicious, It looks delicious. And frankly, I am famished. The Yeti beamed. Well then, please, come in. Come in. But Grogu shook his head. No, thank you. I don't want to bother you. You look busy. I'll just eat this outside. He shuffled back toward the door, but the Yeti wasn't having it. He stepped out into the hall, grabbed the cauldron and presented it to the Grogu with both hands. Oh, but you must let me bring this inside for you. It'll be much nicer. And then you can tell us all about what you were doing today. Did you have a good nap? Are you hungry? Would you like some tea? Maybe some juice? I have a lovely bottle of dandelion dew from last spring. It pairs perfectly with clouds. The Yeti bustled back to the cottage, clutching the gurgling cauldron like it was a baby. And for a moment, Grogu simply stared after them, surprised. Then he shrugged, tucked the ends of his tail into his belt, and strolled into the cottage. Now, the Yeti was a firm believer in the power of food, but he never expected it to work on the notoriously unsoothable Grug. But something about the sweet smell of vanilla and sugar, maybe the twinkling edible stars, or perhaps the warmth of their welcoming smiles, disarmed the grumpy Grogu completely. For the first time in anyone's memory, the Grogu ate his fill without complaint. He lapped up every drop of dandelion dew, inhaled every last bite of cloud, and even managed to smile at the end. Then, brushing crumbs off his fur, he stood up, while he said, looking around the cozy cottage with newfound eyes, "This place isn't so bad. Maybe I could stay for dinner." And maybe, just maybe, that was the start of a beautiful friendship. Look what we made. We made it to Friday. Look at that. Yeah, look at that. I'm so happy to be here. I'm so happy you're here. It's been a long time since I've been this happy. And you know why? Because today's story is extra super special because today we are publishing a book. My new book, The Spaghetti Yeti, is available right now wherever books are sold. And I wanted to take a minute to share it with you, to hold it. Look at it. Look how beautiful it is. Look at the cover. Isn't it gorgeous? I've been carrying this thing around my house like a newborn baby for the last week. Just like you. Just like you. I'm so proud of this book. This story has been bouncing around my head for years and years. I wrote down bits of it on scraps of paper. I drew pictures of it in margins. I folded pages around until I could fold them no more. But I never thought I'd get to share it, let alone publish it. Never thought I was good enough. Never thought anyone would care. And then one day I met the most magical people ever. The kindest editors, the best agents, the smartest designers. And together, well, look at what we made. Now I can finally let the Spaghetti Yeti out into the world. I can share him with you. And if you'd like to read his story, we'll look no further than our website. You can order a copy right now. It's got the same text and pictures as the store copies. Only difference is it comes with a signed bookplate just for you. And while supplies last, it also comes with an exclusive recipe for whispering meatballs. Oh yeah, like in the story. So if you want to make and eat the meatballs from the book, you'll know exactly how. Hooray, of course. The book is also available everywhere books are sold, both in stores and online. If you're feeling extra adventurous, you can even come to the homepage and enter to win some amazing prizes. How cool is that? Your name will be entered for free with any purchase. Or if you just want to browse, go ahead. There's lots to explore, I promise. But before you do, before you get whisked away by 1,000 noodle swirls, I have a question for you. Do you remember the very first time you read or heard a story that changed everything? Do you remember how it felt to be lost in another world? To forget about where you were and who you were for a few minutes? To laugh and cry and maybe even scream at the characters? Do you remember how the story made you feel afterwards? Hopeful, braver, stronger, more yourself? I do. And I want to know what story did that for you. What story became a part of you? Tell me in the comments. I'm listening. I'd like to know. Oh, and one more thing before we begin. Today is a very busy day, so I'm asking a favor. Please hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. Help us spread the word. Tell other dreamers about the book. Tell other dreamers about the author. Tell other dreamers about all the fun we have here. Thank you. Alright, are you ready? Are you full of cozy anticipation? Well, let's go. Are you tired? Did you bring a pillow? Come closer. Okay, here we go. That night, after the midnight marinara mission, something very special twinkled in the sky. Kira was the first to see it. She had tiptoed outside to brush snow from the windowsill when she spotted it. A single, glowing light above the cozy Crumble Mountains, brighter than all the others. It shimmered gold and amber, pulsing gently like a sleepy heartbeat. Yeti, she called softly. Come look. The Yeti shuffled to the doorway, his fluffy feet brushing through the snow like marshmallow clouds. Together, they looked up, and there it was, a noodle star. Long ago, the noodle star had only been a legend, a tale whispered by moonlight between grandmas and grandbeer. They said it would appear only once, when a truly comforting meal had reached the heart of the world. And now, it was there. It's beautiful, the Yeti whispered. Kira's eyes sparkled. Do you think it's for us? The Yeti placed a paw over his heart. I think it's for everyone we've fed, everyone who's dreamed. They stood in the snow a little longer, the cold tickling their fur and fuzz, watching the star twinkle sleepier and sleepier, as if even it had tasted the whispering meatballs and was ready to nod off. From that night forward, the noodle star stayed in the sky. Not all night, not every night, but just enough to remind dreamers, someone is stirring the pot, someone is thinking of you, someone has a bowl waiting, just for you. The Yeti and Kira decided to celebrate, but not with noise, not with fireworks, and certainly not with loud trombones. No, they planned something gentler, a night of 1,000 sleeps, a quiet feast beneath the glowing star, where everyone would eat and dream together. No speeches, no rules, just bowls of sleepy noodles passed hand to hand, and stories told in soft whispers. Preparations took a whole week. Kira painted noodle lanterns in every cozy color. The Yeti crafted spoons from dandelion bark and wishtwig handles. Even the sleepy owl practiced blinking in rhythm with the noodle song. When the night arrived, the mountains were lit, not by fire, but by bowls, each one glowing faintly from within, filled with dreams, steam and sleepy flavors. Children curled into laps. Grandparents rested their cheeks on warm napkins, and the forest animals nestled into gentle circles, tails tucked, whiskers twitching. Then came the soft at first, slurp, slurp, like little lullabies made with lips, then a few more. Then the whole mountain, it seemed, was slurping in perfect sleepy harmony. It was like a song, without notes, a concert of calm, a lullaby of love, made entirely of cozy noodles. And above it all, the noodle star twinkled, just once, slurp. That night, Kira fell asleep with a noodle still wrapped around her paw, and the Yeti, sitting beside the fire, whispered gently to the night, "Thank you," not to anyone in particular, just to the wind, and the trees, and the big bowl of peace he felt in his chest. In your own bed now, soft and still. Can you hear it? That distant echo, the hush of slurping stars, the whisper of steam curling around sleepy cheeks, the soft hum of a world being rocked to sleep by spaghetti. Maybe there's a little glow above your window too, a sleepy shimmer, a star no bigger than a smile. Let it rest above your dreams tonight. You're not alone. You are part of the slurp song, and the Spaghetti Yeti is smiling, somewhere up on the mountain, still stirring, still humming, still saving you the warmest bowl. A huge thank you to my publisher, my agent, my editors, my designer, and everyone who helped make this dream possible. And a bigger thank you to you for being here, for believing in me, for giving me a chance, and for letting me tell you stories. You are the reason I get to do this. You are the reason I get to share the Spaghetti Yeti with the world, and I hope he brings you as much joy as he brings me. So grab a spoon and a steaming bowl, find a lap to curl up in, and let the story slurp you into its slow, sweet embrace. After all, someone is stirring the pot, someone is thinking of you, someone has a bowl waiting, just for you. Once upon a time, past the mountains and over the clouds, lived the kindest, cuddliest, and most huggable Yeti you ever did see. His name was the Spaghetti Yeti. Because he loved to make spaghetti, he learned all the tricks and trade secrets to making the world's best noodles, and he loved to share them with the world. Every night he'd ladle steaming bowls of spaghetti and meatballs for the friendly forest creatures. They'd come from miles around to sip his special sauces and dream of fluffy clouds and soft sheep and purring cats and fluffy pillows. It was always a great joy to the Spaghetti Yeti to bring happy dreams to sleep. But as the golden days of noodle dinners and meatball dreams passed softly, something new stirred in the Spaghetti Yeti's kitchen. He felt a rumbling in his belly, a feeling he hadn't had in many years, a tiny tingle of uncertainty. He had never written a recipe for spaghetti before. In fact, he hadn't even known it was there. It began with a pot, a very old pot, tucked behind jars of cloud thyme and basil naps. Its handle was shaped like a question mark. It hummed softly when the Yeti picked it up, Kira, his little apprentice, found it while organizing the shelves one cloudy afternoon. "Yeti," she whispered, holding it in both paws. "This pot is humming." The Yeti blinked. Then he remembered. Long ago, before he knew how to cook, he had found that pot beneath a snowy pine. He'd been too shy to use it, too unsure. But now things had changed. He was the Spaghetti Yeti, the bedtime chef, the noodle whisperer. He smiled softly and nodded. "Let's see what this pot can do." They filled it gently. A handful of mushrooms that dreamed of flying. A drop of rainwater collected during a lullaby. A pinch of salt that once heard a story and cried. And 3 slivers of memory, whispered in by Kira. As the soup began to bubble, a smell unlike any other rose into the air. It didn't smell like sauce or pasta or even garlic toast. It smelled like home, warm, safe, quiet, cradled home. The Yeti and Kira both closed their eyes. The soup whispered softly, not just words, but feelings. "I see you," it seemed to say. "I know you're tired. Come rest." Now, if you've ever stayed up too late and had to sleep before finishing your homework, you know how hard it is to focus. Luckily, this story has a cozy solution. It's time for Brain Break, superpowered by a quick meditation to help you relax and recharge. Now back to the story. They served it carefully, ladling it into mugs wrapped in tiny scarves. And as each villager sipped, their faces changed. They smiled, but not just from taste, from being understood. Because this soup somehow knew. It knew when you were lonely. It knew when you needed to remember something good. It knew how to say, "You're not alone," without ever speaking. The next day, word spread through the whispering woods. Something new had been made in the Spaghetti Yeti's hut. Something magical, delicious, extraordinary. And all the woodland creatures couldn't wait to get another spoonful. He named it, the soup that knew your name. It didn't have a single ingredient, but every creature that sipped it felt seen. The shyest creatures came for it. A fox with tired eyes. A bear who hadn't sung in years. A porcupine who brought an empty bowl but a full heart. Each one sipped and sighed and sat a little closer than before. That night, the Yeti wrote the first ever recipe in a language no one else could read, because it wasn't made of words. It was made of feelings. He tucked it into the pages of his cookbook with a note. "Only make when needed. Only stir when your heart is listening. Only serve with love." The noodle star blinked extra bright that night. And far, far beyond the mountain, people dreamed of things they had forgotten they missed. A mother's lullaby. A hug from a friend they hadn't seen in ages. The smell of their childhood kitchen. The soup carried it all, one spoonful at a time. Later, sitting by the fire, Kira asked, "Do you think feelings can be ingredients?" The Yeti nodded gently. "I think they're the most important ones." Kira curled her tiny paws beneath her scarf. "Then that's why your cooking is magic," she whispered. The Yeti looked down at her, smiling so softly it could melt snow. "Because you feel everything. Now, sometimes we forget to use our most powerful superpower. Sometimes we hide our feelings, push them down, ignore them, or try to fill them with sugary snacks or endless screen time. But our feelings are there to help us. They're trying to show us something. They want to give us something. It might not always be easy to understand what they're saying, but the more we listen, the better we get at it. Just like the Yeti. One morning, a big storm shook the mountain. Kira watched as the wind tugged at the trees, rattled the windows, and howled at the door. She snuggled close to the Yeti, who was stirring a bubbling cauldron. "Are you scared, little one?" he asked. Kira nodded. She wanted to be brave, but the storm sounded scary. "What do you think the wind wants?" the Yeti asked. Kira thought for a moment. "To play," she said finally. The Yeti smiled and nodded. "Then, let's give it a game." He took a deep breath and shouted outside, come in, you blustery beast. Let's spin and twirl and dance and leap. We'll have such fun, you and I, if you'll only calm down a bit. Then we'll bake some bread and sip some tea and watch the raindrops fall and disappear." The wind paused. Then it rustled the leaves playfully and huffed a laugh. The rain tapped a happy tune against the window, and the storm was no more. Now, sometimes the hardest thing isn't feeling your feelings, it's knowing what to do with them. When you feel scared or sad or frustrated, it helps to talk about it with someone you trust, like a grown-up, a friend, or even a pet. You can take deep breaths together. You can make a plan together. You can help each other feel a little less alone and figure out how to move forward. Feeling your feelings and helping others feel theirs is a superpower that makes the world a kinder, gentler place. Just like the Spaghetti Yeti and his apprentice, Kira, who felt everything and shared it all with the world in a big pot of love. Now, if you feel anything while listening to this story, let it bubble up inside you. If it feels good, share it with a friend. If it feels yucky, find a grown-up to help you sort it out. And if it feels like home, well, then you know, you can always come back for more. It was several nights later. The Spaghetti Yeti stood in the doorway of his hut, watching the full moon climb higher and higher in the sky. All around him, the forest creatures nestled in their cozy homes, full of sleepy contentment. For several nights now, he'd been serving up bowls of the soup that knew your name, and each night it had been a little easier to feel his feelings and share them with the world. He turned to Kira, who was fast asleep in her little armchair, her breathing soft and steady. He smiled down at her, feeling a warmth spread through his chest, a feeling he recognized now, a feeling he welcomed. It was the feeling of love, and suddenly he knew what his next recipe would be. Slowly, carefully, he wrote it out in his special language, a recipe for love. Because love was a feeling worth sharing, a feeling worth passing on, a feeling that made the whole world a little sweeter, a little warmer, a little brighter. Now, you little one, snuggle under your covers and close your eyes. Imagine the Spaghetti Yeti ladling a special recipe of love into a mug just for you. It warms your hands and fills your heart. Can you feel it? Do you understand it? Do you have a little bit of it to share? Well, here's your chance. Open your heart and open your smile. Let the love bubble up inside you and out to everyone around you. Feel your breath, slow and gentle. Feel your own warmth from head to toe. And know that the Spaghetti Yeti loves you very much. And the forest creatures, too. And the people far, far away. And even the shyest, scariest, grumpiest creatures in the whole wide world. Everyone deserves a little love. Everyone needs a little love. And you, little one, you can give it all. So give it freely, give it fully, give it gently. And in doing so, you will feel nothing but love. Nothing, nothing but love. The moon hung like a scoop of vanilla ice cream against the velvety sky, splattering moonlight onto the glistening rooftops of Sugar Plum Village. Inside her cozy cottage, Kira snuggled deep in her armchair, a fluffy blanket pulled tightly around her. Outside, the November wind howled like an empty stomach, rattling the windows with icy fingers. But here in the heart of the village, nestled between the whispering woods and the candy cane fence, everything was still and safe and warm. Suddenly, a sharp rap echoed through the quiet room. Knock, knock. Kira's eyes flew open. That wasn't the wind. Someone, or something, was at the door. But who would be out in this weather? Kira peered out the frosted window. Sure enough, there on her doorstep stood the sleepiest-looking creature she had ever seen. It was a Yeti. His fur was the color of freshly fallen snow, his eyes droopy and gray like storm clouds, and his breath plumed out in lazy white puffs. He wore a smile like a lopsided crescent moon, and held a wooden spoon as thick as Kira's torso. "Hello," he rumbled, his voice as gravelly as a landslide. Kira blinked. Yetis weren't known for their friendliness, especially not on such a blustery night. But there was something about this one, something in his slumping shoulders and drooping ears, that tugged at Kira's heart. Before she could speak, the Yeti continued, "I need your help. The annual Frost Festival is tomorrow, but our parade float has fallen apart and none of us are strong enough to fix it. If someone could stitch it back together, we might still have a chance to win the Golden Icicle Trophy." The Yeti lowered his head, a shiver rattling his massive frame. "I know we don't usually ask for favors, but we really need this. Please, oh please say yes." Kira stared at the Yeti, torn between her longing to help and the howling winds that threatened to shatter the windows. Then, remembering the disappointed look in the Yeti's cloudy eyes, she nodded, grabbed her warmest coat, and together they stepped out into the night. The path to the snowy summit was a treacherous one, winding through knee-deep drifts and over bridges of glittering ice. But Kira refused to let the harsh weather dampen her spirits. She hummed a jaunty tune, swung her lantern high, and before she knew it, she was sliding down a snow-covered hill towards the Frost Festival grounds. There, beneath a canopy of sparkling stars, tents shimmered like ice castles. Children laughed as they zoomed past on ice sleds, and vendors hawked steaming cups of cocoa. But Kira's eyes were searching for the Yeti, who was nowhere to be found. Suddenly, a chorus of gasps and cheers erupted from the center of the festival. Kira raced toward the commotion, just in time to see a lumbering polar bear dressed in a royal robe being crowned the Snow Day King. Next to him stood a pair of familiar gray eyes, shimmering with tears. The Yeti had won the competition without her help. Disappointment pricked at Kira like a shard of ice. She turned to leave, only to bump straight into a well-meaning gnome, carrying a tray piled high with mugs of cocoa. Startled, the gnome lost his grip, and the mugs tumbled to the ground, spraying hot chocolate everywhere. "Oh my stars," he squeaked, rushing to clean up the mess. "How can I ever get these stains out?" Kira hesitated for a moment, then knelt down to help. As the two worked side by side, the gnome explained that the Yeti had won the competition not because of any grand talent, but simply because no one else had shown up. Everyone was too afraid to come. "The blizzards have been fierce this year, and the path is so dangerous." Kira listened, a lump forming in her throat. She realized then that the Yeti hadn't needed her to repair his float. He had needed her to come with him on a journey he didn't want to take alone. Shame burned in her cheeks. Had she misunderstood his kindness by leaving? "I have to go back," she whispered, already racing away. The gnome watched her go, a thoughtful look on his face. "Hey," he called after her. "Here, take this." He pressed a mug into her hand, steaming hot and filled with swirling cinnamon. "It may not bring back what you've lost, but it might warm the rest of your way." Kira smiled, touched by his kindness. She took a sip, and the sweet, spicy flavor brought a wave of comfort over her. Then, with renewed determination, she set off back up the hill. She retraced her steps, crunching through the drifts and over the glistening bridges until she reached the edge of the forest. Here, gnarled bare branches clawed at the sky. The wind snatched at her coat and howled in her ears. The familiar tune of the Yeti's flute cut through the din. Hope surged in Kira's chest. She broke into a run, pushing aside the last of the snow-laden branches and bursting out into a clearing. There in the center, a bonfire crackled merrily, casting dancing shadows on the surrounding trees. And there, standing tall and proud beside his trophy, was the Yeti. When he saw Kira, his face split into a wide grin, revealing a tongue as pink as a seashell and as sweet as hot cocoa. "Kira," he boomed, rushing to meet her. "You came back." He gestured to the fire. "Come warm yourself. We can't start the celebration without you." Kira's heart soared. She had found her place, not at the center of the festivities, but beside a friend who needed her. As she stepped closer to the flames, the Yeti held out a hand, palm up, inviting her to take the golden icicle trophy. Hesitantly, Kira reached out and tucked the cool metal under her arm. Then, with a flourish, the Yeti took her hand and together they led the march toward the towering sled that served as their parade float. Hand in hand, they skated to the edge of the hill, urging the others to follow. When they were all gathered, the Yeti raised the golden icicle high above his head. "Friends," he cried, his voice echoing in the stillness, "we may not have the biggest sled, or the loudest horns, or the most dazzling lights, but what we lack in size, we make up for in spirit. For this day is not about winning a silly trophy or showing off our strength. It's about celebrating who we are, together." A cheer rose from the crowd, echoing the Yeti's sentiment, and as they slid down the hill, Kira knew that they might not have won the competition, but they had won something far more precious, a celebration of friendship. The rest of the day passed in a flurry of laughter and light. The Yeti and Kira skated side by side, his hand warm and reassuring on hers. They raced with the children, played hide-and-seek amongst the glistening tents, and shared mugs of steaming cocoa with the other villagers. As the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in hues of orange and purple, it was time for the final event of the day, the lighting of the great snow globe. Kira and the Yeti stood shoulder to shoulder as the massive glass sphere was raised overhead. Inside, a miniature winter village glittered under a swirling faux snowstorm, waiting for someone to give the signal. All eyes turned to the Snow Day King, who hesitated, then plunged a ceremonial dagger into a block of ice. The crowd gasped as a shower of sparks erupted and the snow globe illuminated, bathing the festival grounds in a magical glow. Kira squeezed the Yeti's hand, her heart brimming with joy. This, she thought, was what the day was truly about. Not winning or losing, but sharing joy and creating memories that would last as long as snow on a mountain peak. Welcome to my channel. I have a question for you. Do you remember the first time you learned how to make spaghetti? Maybe someone taught you how to twirl it onto your fork, or showed you how to slurp it properly. Food is more than just nourishment. It's a way to share love and connection with others. Today, I want to share a story about the importance of passing down traditions, especially when it comes to food. In the frosty mountains high above the clouds lived a Yeti named Yoki. He wasn't a grumpy Yeti or a lonely Yeti. In fact, he was quite the opposite. He was a happy Yeti with a cozy cottage, a belly full of snacks, and a heart brimming with warmth. What made Yoki extra happy was his little sister Kira, who loved nothing more than to snuggle with her brother while they watched clouds drift by outside their window. But their peaceful life changed when Kira started asking questions. "Why do we eat frozen fish?" she asked one day as she nibbled on a chunk of ice. "How come our spaghetti is always blue?" Yokai smiled at her innocent curiosity, but he knew he had to teach her about their unique traditions. Yoki sat Kira down on a block of ice and began sharing stories about their ancestors, the mountain giants. "They used to make regular spaghetti," he explained, "but then a magical noodle star fell from the sky and sprinkled their spaghetti with stardust, turning it blue and giving it magical powers. The star also blessed them with a gift. Whenever they ate this special spaghetti, they could feel the warmth of the sun even in the coldest winters and gain strength to carry on in the harshest blizzards." Kira listened wide-eyed as Yokai told her about the Mountain Giant Festival, a celebration where everyone gathered to eat moon spaghetti, dance under the northern lights, and honor their ancestors. "We haven't celebrated in a long time," she said, a little disappointed. "It's just too much work," Yokai replied, a little embarrassed. Honestly, he missed the festival, too, but since he was the only remaining mountain giant, he had given up on making moon spaghetti. It seemed pointless to make a giant feast for just himself and Kira. As the days went by, Kira couldn't help but feel a little lonely. She loved living with her brother, but sometimes she wished they had other mountain giants to play with. One night, while they were eating their usual frozen fish, Kira decided she had had enough of feeling blue. "Yoki," she said, "I want to invite some cloud bunnies over for dinner, and I want to make them moon spaghetti so they can see the noodle star, too." Yoki was taken aback. He didn't want Kira to get hurt. "But, Kira," he started, but Kira interrupted him. "Please, Yoki, I promise I'll take care of everything." Yoki sighed. He knew he couldn't stop Kira, so he agreed to help her prepare the feast. The first step, he explained, was to gather the ingredients for moon spaghetti. They needed 5 blue orchids from the crystal caverns, 3 glow stones from the singing grotto, and 1 handful of sparkling snow from the highest peak. Then they had to catch a dream fish in the cloud sea and bring back 1 whole rainbow trout. Finally, they needed the most important ingredient, a pinch of stardust from the noodle star itself. "I'll get the glowstones," Kira said, already halfway out the door. "Be careful," Yoki called after her, shaking his head fondly. He knew how determined his little sister could be. Meanwhile, he set to work gathering the other ingredients. As soon as he had everything, he started cooking. He chopped vegetables, he stirred sauces, and he hummed happy tunes. Kira returned with the glowstones just as the sun dipped below the horizon. "Wow," she whispered, staring at the sky. The noodle star was out tonight, shining brighter than ever. Together, they added the stardust to the spaghetti and waited for it to finish cooking. Soon, the spaghetti was ready, shimmering with magical light. Kira arranged the table, setting out plates made of ice and goblets carved from glacier glass. Then she put on her finest dress, a shimmering gown made from spider silk. When the cloud bunnies arrived, they gasped at the sight of the spaghetti. "It looks so beautiful," one of them whispered. "I've never seen anything like it." Yoki and Kira smiled at each other. This was exactly what Kira had hoped for. As they ate, the mountain giants shared stories about their ancestors and the importance of keeping their traditions alive. They talked about how the moon spaghetti gave them strength, and how the mountain giant festivals celebrated their unique heritage. The cloud bunnies listened attentively, nodding their fuzzy heads. After dinner, Yoki and Kira led the cloud bunnies outside to dance under the northern lights. They twirled and jumped, feeling the warmth of the sun on their faces. The cloud bunnies laughed and played until the sky turned a pale gray. Then it was time for them to go. "Thank you for inviting me," one of them said to Kira, "and thank you for reminding me about my heritage. I'm going to tell all my friends about the mountain giants." And with that, the cloud bunnies disappeared into the clouds. Yoki and Kira watched them go, feeling happy and fulfilled. You were right, Kira, Yoki said, smiling at his sister. This feast was everything we needed. Kira beamed back at him, her eyes sparkling like the stars above. From that day on, Yoki and Kira continued to host feasts, inviting all sorts of magical creatures from the mountains and the clouds. They shared stories about their ancestors, danced under the northern lights, and most importantly, they remembered the mountain giant festival. Now, I want to ask you another question. What are some of your favorite childhood memories involving food? Maybe it's the smell of freshly baked cookies, or the taste of your grandmother's famous spaghetti. Food has a unique ability to evoke powerful memories and emotions. Sharing a meal is a universal symbol of connection and love. And today we shared the story of Yoki and Kira and their efforts to keep their tradition alive. Through their journey, we learned about the importance of honoring our heritage and passing down our stories and customs to future generations. It reminds us that traditions aren't just old-fashioned customs, but meaningful ways to connect with our roots and identity. Think about a time when you shared a meal with someone special. How did the food make you feel? What memories or traditions did it bring back? Share your thoughts in the comments section, because every bite tells a story and every dish holds a memory. Before we say goodbye, I want to leave you with a quote that celebrates the power of food and family. There is no love sincerer than the love of food. George Bernard Shaw. Isn't it amazing how food can bring people together and create lasting memories? And now it's time for you to add your own story to our community. We'd love to hear about your experiences and the roles that food and traditions play in your life. So grab a pen and paper and write a story about a time when you shared a special meal with someone. Describe the dish, the atmosphere, and most importantly, how it made you feel. Share your story in the comments section. Who knows? Your story might inspire someone else to create new memories. If you enjoyed today's story, don't forget to hit the thumbs up button and subscribe to our channel. Until next time, keep creating magical moments around food and keep those traditions alive. Thank you for joining us today. Remember, the most magical moments are often created around a table filled with good food and good company. Keep creating those memories and sharing them with the world. Hey, Cozy Crumblers! Are you ready for a brand new adventure? Then grab your biggest spoon and get ready to dig into a delicious mystery, because we're going to help Kira and the Yeti solve a case in tonight's story. But before we go, don't forget to hit the like button if you love stories like this. This is the story of the cozy crumbled mountains. One day, Kira was looking around the cottage and realized they were all out of marshmallows. We need some marshmallows, she told the Yeti, for hot cocoa and s'mores. Oh, no doubt, said the Yeti. I'll pop over to Mr. Nibbleton's store and pick some up on my way home. Great, said Kira. And while you're there, could you get some more sprinkles? Of course, said the Yeti. What kind of sprinkles? Rainbow ones, said Kira, and lots of them. As soon as the Yeti left, Kira pulled out the biggest bowl she could find. She wanted to make some magical sprinkle fairy wings. I bet if I made a pair, she said, the fairies would grant me 3 wishes. The cozy crumbled mountains were especially quiet that night. Snowflakes drifted down like powdered sugar wishes, and even the pine trees seemed to hold their breath. Inside the cottage, the fire whispered. The broth bubbled softly, and a hush as gentle as whipped cream filled the air. But something peculiar stirred in the pantry. Something squiggly, something springy, something noodly. It started with one tiny just a little pasta strip on the shelf. Then another did the same, and another, until without a sound the entire shelf of dry noodles began to dance. It was graceful, it was silly, it was full of joy. The fusilli twirled like ballerinas, the penne marched like tiny sleepy soldiers, the spaghetti did slow somersaults like swaying vines, and then they leaped right out of the pantry onto the kitchen floor, where the moonlight poured in like gentle silver syrup. The noodles were having a midnight noodle ball. Kira blinked awake first. She rubbed her eyes, still wrapped in a dumpling blanket. Yeti, she whispered. The Yeti was already sitting upright, eyes wide, spoon dangling from his paw. I think, he murmured. There, alive. They tiptoed to the kitchen in their slipper socks and watched in awe. No one spoke, because sometimes the magic needs quiet. The noodles noticed them and didn't stop. In fact, they seemed happier, twisting and swaying in their own soft rhythm. And then the strangest thing happened. The spaghetti formed a circle and offered them an invitation. It was written in marinara on a little napkin. Tonight only. Come dream with us. Dress code fuzzy. Kira giggled. The Yeti blinked, then shuffled off to put on his softest mushroom-knit robe. When they returned, the pasta band struck up a sleepy tune. Lasagna on cello, gnocchi on tambourine, a lone macaroni on saxophone, and the dance began. They didn't twirl too fast. They didn't spin too much. It was the kind of dancing you do when your feet are tired, but your heart is full. The kind of dancing where even yawns looked like They danced until their paws tingled, until their laughter got softer, until even the penne began to nod off and when it was time to rest, the noodles returned to their shelf, curling into cozy piles of alphabet shapes and sleepy curls. Kira looked up at the Yeti, both of them glowing like bread fresh from the oven. "I didn't know noodles could dance," she said softly. The Yeti nodded. They were waiting for a night like this. Just then, a loud crash echoed through the mountains. "What was that?" Kira asked, her ears perking up like cinnamon buns. "Probably just an avalanche," said the Yeti, "or maybe a runaway carrot." Kira wasn't so sure. She couldn't help but wonder. She and the Yeti had moved to the cozy Crumble Mountains to solve mysteries, but so far, every case had vanished like puff pastry in a hungry dragon's den. Not a single crumb of evidence, not a single scale of justice, not a single sip of clear, cold justice. "I want to help," she told the Yeti. "I want to solve a real mystery." The Yeti smiled, squeezing her hand with his furry paw. "Well," he said, "this is the perfect chance. Come on." The two friends tiptoed outside. The snow crunched under their boots like whispers. All around them, the mountains slept. Every pine tree stood silent, every snowflake frozen in its fall. But that noise, it still echoed in their minds. As they walked, Kira noticed tiny tracks in the snow, like a miniature parade. "Look here," she said. The prince led to the edge of the mountain. "Someone or something big," she said, "has rolled away." She and the Yeti exchanged a look. They knew exactly what to do. They raced down the hill. At the bottom, they found a trail of more tracks, bigger than the first, and followed them into the whispering woods. The trees here were thick and close, their branches weaving together to form a roof over their heads. Everywhere, the soft moss cushioned their steps and muffled their sounds. Suddenly Kira stopped. She pressed her ear against a tree trunk. "Listen," she whispered. Inside, the Yeti heard it, to a low rumble like distant thunder. "What is that?" he asked. "I don't know," Kira replied, "but I think we're getting close." They crept forward, their hearts beating like timpani drums, until they saw it. There, nestled among the trees, was a small cave, and coming from inside, that mysterious rumble. Kira and the Yeti looked at each other. What would they find inside? A grumpy troll, a family of runaway pancakes, a singing boulder. Kira took a deep breath and grabbed the Yeti's paw. Together, they stepped inside. It was dark, but as their eyes adjusted, they saw that they weren't alone. Dozens of objects sat in the cave, and all of them seemed to be fast asleep. A teapot snored softly, a rocking chair swayed gently, and a plate of cookies looked as though it had just been baked. But what was that noise? Then, from the corner, something stirred. First, a tiny twitch, then a little wiggle, then a stretch. "Oh, so cute." Kira and the Yeti leaned closer and gasped. It was a gingerbread man, and he was yawning. "Did I say something funny?" the gingerbread man asked. He tilted his head, confused. "You were making a funny noise," said the Yeti, "like rumbling." "Oh, that," said the gingerbread man. "That's just my tummy. I haven't eaten in ages." He looked down at his feet. "I was hoping to find someone who needed my help, someone who wanted a friend, but I guess everyone here was already busy with their dreams." He sighed. "And now I'm too sleepy to search any longer." Kira felt a pang of sympathy for the lonely gingerbread man. "You don't have to be lonely," she said. "If you don't want to be, you can come back to the cottage with us. We could eat some cookies and read some books." The gingerbread man looked up in surprise. "Really? You'd want that?" "Of course," said the Yeti. "Everyone deserves a friend." The gingerbread man smiled, revealing teeth as white as winter. "Thank you," he said. "That would be lovely." And so, hand in paw, the Yeti, Kira, and the gingerbread man set off towards the light. Soon, the cottage stood before them, warm and welcoming, just like the friends who lived inside. As they entered, the fire crackled merrily, the broth bubbled cheerfully, and the noodles on the shelf waved hello with sleepy smiles. Kira and the Yeti shared a glance. Their hearts were full, just like their bellies. They'd solved another case, not with fancy deductions or daring escapes, but with a little kindness and a lot of heart. For sometimes the greatest mysteries are solved, not with logic, but with love. Before we go, make sure to leave a like and a comment below. Tell us about your favorite part of the story, and if you love this cozy crumbled mountain adventure, don't forget to subscribe. You can listen to our podcast anytime, anywhere. Just search for us in your favorite podcast app. Thanks for listening, sweet dreams, and remember, you can find magic wherever you open your ears. In the world of yummy tallies, nestled between the hills of Hooray and the Giggle Galaxy, lived a Yeti. His fur was the color of vanilla creme, his smile was as wide as a blueberry pie, and his cottage smelled like home. One evening, he hosted a ball. It wasn't any ordinary bash, it was a midnight noodle ball. Every creature who'd ever slurped a soup or savored a stew was invited. Even the moonbenders, known for their gravity-defying noodle dances, slithered over from the upside-down valley. The ball was a blur of swirling noodles, moonbenders, twirling, laughing friends, and when the clock struck midnight, the feast fell silent. 4 traditions said that if you listened closely at the stroke of 12, the wishing wall would whisper 3 wishes. And oh, did the wall deliver? Wishes were made. Dreams took flight. Then hand in hand, the Yeti and his friends watched as shooting stars strewed wishes across the sky. But as the sun peeked over the hills, the guests began to leave. They floated away in bubbles, danced off in daydreams, or teleported back to their beds. And when the last giggle faded and the echoes of applause had died down, the Yeti was left alone. Alone with a swirl of silk hankies, a mountain of melon rinds, and a heart full of quiet. For a while, he just sat in the stillness. He could hear the gentle hum of leftover joy. The air itself seemed to carry the melody of laughter, and somewhere in the rafters, a single spiral noodle still swayed sleepily on a string. Then the Yeti got up. He stretched his arms above his head, yawned, and went to the kitchen. There, in the corner, sat a worn teapot. It was the exact same one his mama had used to make bedtime broths when he was just a week up. He filled it with water, dropped in a pinch of starlight and a spoonful of dreams, put the kettle on, and soon the kitchen was filled with the smell of warm vanilla broth tea. The Yeti poured himself a mug, cradled it in his paws, and sat at the kitchen table. Outside, the sky was turning the color of thick whipped cream, so the Yeti pulled up a chair for the sunrise. Beside it, a bowl of dough sat waiting, ready for kneading, and nearby a stack of cookbooks stood patiently. But today, none of those would do. The Yeti reached for a blank pad of watercolor paper, dipped his quill in ink, and wrote the first word. Today, he didn't know what else to call it yet. He hadn't made a book like this before, and that's when he heard a tiny cough. Startled, he looked over and saw a girl. She was small, with bright eyes and hair the color of spun sugar. "Who are you?" he asked. "I live here," she replied, yawning. "Well, I don't really live here. I live in a sweater pocket in the living room. But this is my home." She blinked slowly. "Wait, you're not Kira, are you?" "Who's Kira?" "The girl who always sleeps in the mushroom seat and drinks sleepy time tea with me." The little girl tilted her head. "Oh, I am Kira. I just forgot." And with that, she scrambled out of bed, yawned again, and padded over to the kitchen. "What are you thinking about?" the Yeti asked, surprised to find another Kira in his kitchen. Kira blinked sleepily. "I don't know," she said. "I think I need some jammy dodgers. Or maybe a snoozeberry tart. Maybe a breakfast sandwich with goblins and grace." "Don't you mean goblins?" "Goblins and goblins," she corrected. "Goblins, goblins," she sang, and then she looked up at the Yeti. "Wait, what are we going to write about today?" The Yeti thought for a moment. "There's a quiet in the morning after all the noise of the ball last night. The quiet feels different. Not louder, not busier, just more full. The air hums with leftover joy. The walls whisper the melody. Somewhere in the rafters, a single spiral noodle still sways sleepily on a string. Wrapped in a ravioli shawl, rubbed her eyes and climbed into her mushroom seat beside him. Not the ingredients, but the dreams they hold." The Yeti nodded exactly. And so, just like that, a new idea was born. The Dream Recipe Book. He wrote about cinnamon nose stew for when you long for someone. Hug about sauce that tastes like an old song and cookies with jam-filled middles that whisper it's okay to cry. Kira, added doodles in the margins, little drawings of cozy chairs, star-shaped spoons and pasta bowls with wings. Each chapter had a feeling. Chapter 2, when you can't sleep, with recipes made of silence, soft cheese and sleepy herbs. Chapter 3, when you feel brave but small, with tall toast, hero honey drizzle, and Braveheart broth served in acorn cups. Chapter 4, when you want to laugh, with tickle toast, giggle gravy and pop and pepper pasta that made your nose wiggle, and every time they wrote, the cottage grew quieter, like it too was listening. At night they would read a page aloud by candlelight, not to teach, not to explain, just to remember, and sometimes when the fire crackled just right, it felt like the book glowed just a little, just enough. One evening, Kira curled up beside the Yeti and asked, "What do you think dreams have flavors?" The Yeti tapped his chin with a sleepy spoon. "I do. What does your dream taste like?" The Yeti thought for a long while. Warm bread dipped in tomato moonlight, with a swirl of something sweet like kindness wrapped in noodles. Kira grinned. "I think mine tastes like falling asleep in a hug." They added those to a secret chapter in the very back, chapter 15, Dreams. We re still cooking unfinished recipes, unwritten stories, pages for someday, the ones that would arrive when the heart was ready. And maybe now, little one, you feel your own dream recipe stirring, not in your belly but in your heart. Close your eyes. What does it taste like? A favorite memory, a cozy moment, a kindness you gave, or one that found you. Whatever it is, let it swirl through your sleepy thoughts. Let it steam softly around your chest. Let it tuck into the pages of your dreams, because your story belongs in the Dream Recipe Book too. And tonight, as you drift, the Yeti is saving you a page. Breathe in and feel the warm ink of love and calm. Breathe out and let your dreams begin to simmer. You are part of the cookbook. Now, one of the coziest recipes ever written, a recipe called You Resting Deeply. From the author of Good Night, Stories for Rebellious Girls, comes a lullaby for anxious hearts everywhere. Rest in the comforting glow of ink and moonlight, with the soothing cadence of the classic children's rhyme Hush, Little Baby. Author Lorena Alvarez wraps her poetic narrative around this traditional tune, creating a haven of calm even in the darkest moments. As nighttime settles and shadows grow long, worries can creep in, making bedtime anything but peaceful. This captivating story soothes away those anxieties with its gentle rhythm and heartwarming tale. Join the hushed journey and discover the magic in the quiet embrace of the night as dreams take flight and peace finds its way into hearts. The morning after the Snowy Sauce Festival, Kira found herself stirring flour into the new dough. Beside her, the duet dragon stirred awake, blinking sunshine out of his eyes. He stretched his wings, sending flour flying, and yawned a yawn that could knead its own bread. "Good morning," he rumbled, his voice thick like fresh-baked bread. "Morning," Kira replied. The cottage was quiet, peaceful, empty. Not because anything was missing. No, not at all. But because everything felt complete. The spoons rested in their drawer like tired storytellers. The pots hummed softly in their sleep. And the Dream Recipe Book sat open on the tablet's pages, gently fluttering in the fierce whisper. Kira wasn't sure who needed waking this morning. Her eyelids were heavy. Her whiskered nose twitched with sleep. Still, she couldn't bring herself to let go of this feeling. The feeling of having helped someone, of having been enough. As she kneaded the dough, she thought about the previous evening, about how tired everyone was, about how much they needed rest. The fire crackled in agreement. The duet dragon sighed, suddenly remembering how much tossing and turning he did on trying to get comfortable before deciding to curl up right here beside the hearth. Kira looked at him curiously. Did he fall asleep while watching the parade? Had he enjoyed the festival? Had he liked the sleepy starlight stew? She wondered if maybe she should have added more cinnamon, or if it was just the right amount. She pondered if the dragon enjoyed fireworks, or if he preferred to stay away from them. How would he have celebrated without the fear of scorching the sky? She imagined him dancing among the falling snowflakes, him laughing with a pure joy that didn't need hiding. Would he chase the northern lights, or would he watch them from here, safe, warm, loved? She smiled. He was a part of their story now, and together they were making more memories, more stories. Memories that smelled of wood smoke and fresh bread, stories that tasted of sleepy starlight stew, that echoed with the laughter of children and the steady thrum of drums. Stories that soared with fireworks and shimmered with northern lights. Memories and stories that were theirs, and yet belonged to everyone who ever walked between these four walls. As the sun climbed higher and the mountain began to wake, she heard the Yeti shuffling downstairs, He looked tired but happy, his fur dusted with snow and his ice blue eyes shining like polished gemstones. She jumped off the stool and ran to him, wanting to tell him all the things she'd thought of while making bread, wanting to share the dragon with him, wanting to show him how their story was becoming a tapestry of moments woven with kindness and care. He looked at her, at the dragon, at the empty chairs, and then back at Kira. He had so many questions in his gaze, but none of them were urgent. None of them demanded an answer. They simply hovered, waiting, hoping, trusting. In the silence, Kira knew what he was thinking, wondering aloud if the festival had gone well, if the others had enjoyed themselves, if the storm had passed. And though she wanted to reassure him, she couldn't. Not yet. Not until he understood that the real magic hadn't been in the storm or the parade or the food. It had been in the feeling, the understanding, the connection they'd all shared. And some connections, she knew, were meant to be savored slowly, quietly, without any fanfare or fireworks. Together, they went to check on the guests. Some slept soundly, curled into themselves like sleeping dumplings. Others were already awake, stirring in their beds. A few had notes beside them, thanking them for the feast and the fellowship, for the chance to forget, if only for a day, the troubles of the world below. Some left without a sound, melting into the snowy landscape like wisps of smoke. Others said their goodbyes, promises of return on their lips, and the echo of laughter in their eyes. The duet dragon watched them go, a hint of wistfulness in his eyes, the same yearning Kira had seen when he'd first arrived. The Yeti laid a comforting hand on his shoulder, and Kira knew that unspoken understanding had passed between them. They were both feeling the quiet ache of goodbyes, the gentle tug of empty spaces, the sudden stillness that followed a symphony. But instead of sadness, the dragon saw understanding. Instead of loss, he saw gratitude. And instead of loneliness, he saw the quiet beauty of letting go. They spent the next few hours tidying the cottage, the Yeti and the dragon, each moving with a newfound gentleness. They stacked the chairs, carefully wiping down the tables. The Yeti hummed softly, his voice echoing with contentment. The dragon fluffed the pillows, and Kira arranged the flowers. Soon, the guest room was empty except for the lingering scent of pipeweed and pine, and the smell of memories. Downstairs, the kitchen was a sea of gleaming surfaces and humming emptiness. The Yeti pored over the flour sacks, making sure there was enough for more bread, for more sharing, for more stories. The dragon perched on the counter, absent-mindedly polishing a spoon until it gleamed like a captured star. Kira wandered about, opening cupboards, making sure everything was put away, everything in its place. It was hard to believe that just yesterday morning this place had bustled with activity, with greetings and laughter and the clanging of pots. Now, the only sounds were the Yeti humming, the dragon whistling, and the dragonflies sighing as they drifted through the open windows. But as the dragon cleared the table, a book tumbled from behind a vase. Kira caught it before it hit the floor. The dream recipe book lay open, its pages filled with spidery writing and faded sketches. She recognized the recipes, the lullabies, the tales, the very fabric of their story. And as she flipped through the pages, she felt the spirit of the book, the soul of their journey, whispering to her. It spoke of late nights in the kitchen, of flowery paws and soot smudges, of songs and laughter, of shared meals, and the comforting weight of a place called home. The Yeti came to stand beside her, his calloused hand resting on hers. In that moment, surrounded by the ghosts of memories and the promise of dreams, he knew as she knew that this book, this cottage, this life, was more than just a collection of recipes or a shelter from the storm. It was a testament to the quiet strength of resilience, the enduring power of hope and the comforting warmth of belonging. The recipe book fluttered in the breeze of the open window, its pages whispering tales of the Yeti, the dragon, and the girl who found solace in a mountaintop haven. In those weathered pages, the essence of their journey unfolded, reminding them that their story, like the soup that bore its name, was seasoned with kindness and brewed with love. Then, as if drawn by the unspoken words hanging in the air, the Yeti lifted the book. His eyes meet. Together, they read, their voices blending like the flavors in their famous brew. The cottage fell silent, the only sound their hushed voices weaving tales of resilience and hope. And as the words danced on their tongues, they realized that their story, like the soup that bore its name, was a tapestry woven with laughter, tears, and the quiet strength that bound them together. And now, dear listener, the Yeti has hung the sign above the door. the soup that knew your name, for he welcomes anyone who seeks solace in a steaming bowl, a listening ear, or a moment of peace. Come, weary traveler, and share your tale. Stay a while, and sip the starlight. Rest your bones and dream sweet dreams. For in this mountain haven, there's always room at the table and a warm hearth to gather round. Let the kettle sing, the flour dust the countertop, and the dragon keep watch over dreams. This is the story of the Yeti, the dragon, and the girl who found magic in a mountaintop haven. And now it's time for you, dear listener, to add your own tale to the simmering pot of their lives. What troubles weigh on your heart? What dreams stir in your soul? What hopes and fears dance in the depths of your being? Bring them all. Let the warmth of their story envelop you. Let the melody of their lives soothe your spirit. For in the sharing, you'll find solace. In the listening, you'll find connection. And in the quiet strength of their bond, you'll find the courage to face whatever comes next. The Yeti awaits you with a listening heart. The dragon watches over you with ancient wisdom. And Kira, with her flour-dusted paws, is ready to welcome you with a smile. So come, dear listener, to the soup that knew your name, where every bowl is filled with more than just broth. Every word carries the weight of understanding, and every moment promises a haven of peace. Pour out your story, savor the silence, and find comfort in the quiet strength of their embrace. The mountain waits, the stars align, and the Yeti's heart is open, ready to catch your whispered dreams. Are you ready to share your tale, dear listener? Are you ready to find solace in the simmering magic of their story? Because in the heart of this tale, there's a place reserved for you, and in the warmth of their haven, your story will find its ending.